So this is going to be a quick video about how to get going with recording guitars and basses and things like that into Logic in the Mac suite. So to start with, you probably notice you've got these boxes that look like that or look like that on your desks. These are audio interfaces. What this does is take the signal that's coming from your guitar jack lead, which looks like a wave basically, and convert that into digital information that the computer can understand. So like binary code, ones and zeros. That's kind of what's happening with this this device really, is it's changing it from analog to digital. So to start off with, you would want to plug your guitar in with a jack lead, and you see you've got guitar line input. So you want to put it in there. And this thing has two tracks. It can record two things at the same time. So you've got input 1 over here and input 2 over here. So you could have something in there and something in the other guitar line input, or you could have a guitar in and a mic lead going into the XLR. It's up to you really. And then once you've got your guitar in, maybe on the left side, so on this side you've got guitar input 1, make sure you change the mic line to the correct one. So the mic, if it's the XLR up above, which you're probably using today, or if you're going in with a jack lead, switch it down to line level, essentially. And we'll talk about the other things in a minute. If you're using this one, this hole here in the middle of the XLR sort of socket is where you put your jack, right? That is actually input 1 is right in the middle of there with your jack cable, right? Because this is number 2 over here. Once you've got that, you're going to need to sort out the settings. So if you go to Logic, I need to record guitar with audio tracks. So I'm going to click audio here, and if you need to add them, we can go up to track and then new audio tracks, right? And when I record, I like to have lots of audio tracks, so I can it's almost like a palette. I can chuck stuff around wherever I like, essentially, yeah? So I've got that, and the next thing I need to do is check all of the recording settings. So I'm going to go up to Logic Pro X, and I'm going to go to Preferences and Audio. So it's Logic Pro X, Preferences, Audio. And it throws this up. And in here I've got Output Device, Input Device. Input Device, if you click in here, you should be able to find the name of this device. So if there's no lights on it, it might not be plugged in. So check that there's a USB cable coming out the back of this thing, or this thing, and going into your computer. I think it should have some sort of light on it somewhere, on both of them, so you know it's on, essentially. And once you've got that, if I come back to here, in the settings, you want to change this, the input, to basically be these things. So I think this one comes up as M-Track, and this one will come up as USB audio codec, or something like that, essentially, yeah? So M-Track, USB audio codec. So that's what will come up in input device. The output device, I would highly recommend you set to the same thing, right? And what you do is you plug your headphones in here with a 1/4" jack. So this is where we ask you to get adapters, because you're much better off when you record sticking it in the headphones. So on this one, you can see it's just over here. Essentially, you've got a volume knob for the headphones there, and you've got sort of volume here for it, essentially. You can put your headphones in the back of the Mac still, but I tend to have more problems with that. You're much better off if you actually do everything through the audio interface. So with the output, you could switch it to like the M-Track or audio codec and plug your headphones in here, but you could keep it as built-in output if you want to put your headphones in the back of the Mac. That is not the best thing to do. And then once you've done that, I would pop over from Devices to General. And do you see this button down here? It's probably not ticked. So low latency mode. So put that on, just because I'm finding all the time with these Macs in classrooms that you often have a delay straight away when you hit the guitar. You might sound a little bit later. So if you put low latency mode on, it sometimes takes a minute to kind of get going, but it does tend to help when recording guitars. So when we've got that, the other thing I would check is the system preferences. So the system preferences are a big cog in the dock, and go into sound, and I would check that these are the same thing. So your input device should be your M-Track or audio codec, and your output device should be either the internal speakers or headphones if you've got them plugged in the Mac, or preferably the audio interface name in here too. Right? So once you've got all that, it should nearly be working. The next thing to check is when you're on an audio track that you want to record on, we need the inspector open, so this thing with the eye. If I look down the track here, it's got inputs. So I'm going to go into input 1, and it's already ticked, but if not, I would tick it. And you see that these things have input 1, input 2. Yeah, input 1, input 2 on this side, left side, right side, 1, 2, essentially. And this is 1 and 2. And these correlate to these here, input 1 and input 2. So if you plugged your guitar into here, then, which is a common thing that I find, then you're actually on input 2, is where you're going with the sound. So once you've got that right, I would then arm the track here, and then it's showing me some level of me talking as the input right now because it's on the internal microphone, but hopefully if you hit your guitar you might get some level right now. Now what you need to do now is go over and set the gain. So the gain is the input recording level. So on this one here, you can see gain applies to that one in there, gain 2 is that one. And what you want is, you see you've got signal and clip. You want to have the signal going very green, but never going into the red and clipping. If it does this, where it's got the red light on, then you need to turn it down. It's too loud, essentially. And you know, these interfaces don't have a lot of detail in terms of where exactly it's sitting. You should be able to get a good green bright light, essentially, but never red. If it goes red, turn it down. And the best thing to do is play the loudest thing you're going to play. Turn it down if it goes anywhere near red. With these, you see you've got the gain here and gain over here for like sort of input 1, input 2. So you're probably using this one by plugging your guitar in there. So you can roll it up and you can see the lights here. So you probably want to be, nowadays, like sitting like -6 regularly. If you're down at -20 and you're not even hitting -6, you're too low. You need to come up. So -6 is good. -3 is getting a bit high. Hitting 0, no, it's too high. You need to stop, turn it down, and try again. So you really want to be sitting regularly around here, and it might peak up to -3. So the odd little loud bang might go up here, but generally sitting around -6 is a good place to be, essentially. So get that right, and then you should be ready to record. So what you can do is hit sort of R on the track that you want to record on. So this is telling, if I press this R, it's telling Logic I want to record on this track, and then you should be able to start playing and hit record, and you should be able to start recording the input. So you can see this is my internal microphone recording, and there you go. And you see the click going through it too. And then what you can do is, if you go into the library, because the sound that you got coming off your guitar is just direct input, which isn't very nice. So if you go into the library over here, you should be able to start looking up sounds. So maybe I want some electric guitar sounds, and I want like a crunch guitar. So hot rodded sounds good, so I can apply that and listen to that, essentially, and see what it sounds like. And if you're struggling with kind of monitoring and hearing things back, experiment with using this eye for input monitoring. Essentially, we'll talk more about this in future. So we could you could try turning that on and off and see if that resolves any issues you're having with being able to hear it yourself. And also, it's got direct monitoring, so you can hear the direct sound, which you might not actually want, but experiment with using that as well. And then see if you can record something. So we're going to talk a bit about kind of typical 1960s chord progressions and things like that. But this should get you going, actually being able to record guitar. Okay?